Hi friend, my name is Jess. Welcome to Books Past Bedtime. So today, as you can probably guess from the thumbnail and title, I am going to be doing the mid-year freakout tag. I was tagged in this by Mare over at Mare Reads. I honestly am not sure if anybody else has tagged me. If they have, I'm sorry. I love you. So this tag is basically a series of questions that helps you review your reading so far this year, and I will link the creator of the tag down in the description below. Can you quiet down? Guess it's a no. Anyway, without further ado, let's jump right into the questions. So the first question is the best book you have read so far this year. The best book I have read so far this year is definitely The Mighty Heart of Sunny St. James by Ashley Herring Blake. This is a middle grade contemporary story about our main character, Sunny. Sunny actually has a life-threatening heart condition, and in the beginning of this book, she actually receives a heart transplant. And after she receives this transplant and starts getting better, she creates this list of things that she hasn't been able to do as a child before and that she really wants to do. Some of them include like meeting a best friend, having her first kiss, and so she sets out to finally live her life. And this book is just so adorable, and it's also so heart-wrenching. It definitely is a book about finding yourself, kind of discovering your sexuality as Sunny ends up developing a crush on a girl. This book also deals a lot with family, as Sunny is actually being raised by one of her mother's best friends. Throughout this book, her mother actually starts to come back into her life, and she kind of has to deal with that, decide what her life and her family is going to look like exactly. There is a ton of good stuff in this book, and I would really recommend. It made me absolutely sob, as have all of Ashley Herring Blake's middle grades. They are all so beautiful, so well done. The characters are so lovely, and this is definitely a book that's going to stick with me for a very long time. The second question is the best sequel you have read so far this year. For this one, I'm going to go with Heartstopper Volume 3 by Alice Oseman. The Heartstopper series is a graphic novel series by Alice Oseman following two characters named Nick and Charlie that were originally introduced in her first novel, Solitaire. Throughout this series, you see Nick and Charlie meet and develop a relationship, and in this third volume they actually go on a class trip to Paris together and kind of come out as being in a relationship. Overall, this graphic novel series is just super cute. They have all been 5-star reads for me, one of my favorite graphic novel series ever. And also, if you didn't know, this graphic novel series is free to read online because Alice Oseman is amazing. I will definitely link that down below if you are interested, and if you haven't checked this series out yet, you definitely should. I would very much recommend. The next question is, what is a 2020 new release that you are excited about but haven't read yet? And for this one, I'm going with Late to the Party by Kelly Quinlan. This book follows our main character, Cody, who has always been pretty straight-laced, goody two-shoes, but when two of her best friends suggest crashing a party, they decide to go. At this party, Cody actually stumbles on one of the popular boys kissing another boy in a dark bedroom, and they kind of actually form an unexpected friendship. And as a result of this, and in return for Cody never revealing Ricky's secret, he kind of takes her under his wing and takes her on a really exciting, fun-filled summer where she meets this girl named Lydia, and I believe they have a sort of romance going on. The only problem is that Cody has never told her two best friends about any of this, and I think she kind of probably ditches them for Ricky in a way, and I think there's some drama there. This just sounds really good, and I am very excited to finally get to it, hopefully very soon. It actually will be in an upcoming video, so I definitely will read this one within the next month or so. The next question is, what are your most anticipated releases for the second half of 2020? I actually will have a new video up very soon listing my anticipated releases for the summer, July, August, and September. As a sneak peek for that video, I am excited for Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall, Shadows by Alex North, Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas, and of course, Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer. The fifth question is, what has been your most disappointing read so far this year? For this one, I think I'm going to go with Watching You by Lisa Jewell. I have read 2 Lisa Jewell thrillers recently, and honestly, I just was really disappointed with both of the Lisa Jewell books. The descriptions sound so good and so thrilling, but then the books end up just being a letdown for me. Watching You is about this neighborhood. We're following a couple different families that live in this same neighborhood. So Tom is the headmaster of the local school. He lives next door to this girl named Joey, as well as Joey's boyfriend and Joey's boyfriend's sister. I think they all live in the same house. Joey kind of develops a relationship with Tom. A lot of other people think Tom is creepy. A young girl in the neighborhood who is actually one of Tom's students who thinks that that Tom is stalking her. Tom also has a son that's kind of doing some weird stuff, doing a lot of surveillance in the neighborhood, like watching people. I think that's where the title comes from. This just ended up being a kind of domestic style thriller, which isn't my favorite, and I've come to learn that reading more thrillers. I just really didn't like this. I didn't like the dynamics between the characters. There was a lot of cheating, which I wasn't a fan of. There was some weird sexual stuff that I wasn't a fan of, and I just didn't come to enjoy any of the characters. I didn't like how it ended. I didn't like the story. It was a big disappointment for me, unfortunately, and I probably will not be picking up any more from Lisa Joel. The sixth question is, what was your most surprising read so far this year? And for this, I'm going to go with Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. When I picked this book up, I was not expecting to like it at all. I typically do not like literary fiction. For me, it always feels like it's trying too hard and ends up being boring. I read this book in the span of a couple hours in basically one sitting. I'll link my 24-hour reading vlog up above if you're interested in that. And maybe it's because I read this book so fast that I didn't give it a chance to get slow, because some people do complain about it being slow, but I didn't find it slow at all. I thought it was so well done. I absolutely loved it, and as I mentioned, I was not expecting to at all, so this was definitely the biggest surprise for me. This ended up being a 5-star book. In this book, we follow our main character Kyla, who is kind of an outcast of this town that she lives in. She is called the Marsh Girl because she lives out in the marshes all on her own. Her family all left her, and by the time she's like 10 or 12, she's living completely by herself. She has very minimal social interactions. She doesn't go to school, so she's definitely kind of like a wild child in every sense of the word. So we're following her kind of growing up and learning how to fend for herself, but we're also following another timeline in modern day where this man is murdered and they're blaming Kaya for it. So overall, I really enjoyed this book. I liked the scenic descriptions of the North Carolina coast. I really enjoyed learning about Kaya. She was a very unique character and very interesting to follow, and also the ending just blew me out of the water and really is what made this book a 5-star book for me. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and this is not my typical genre at all, so this was by far my most surprising read of the year. The 7th question is favorite new author. As I mentioned, I've been getting into thrillers more this year. This author is a thriller author that I have found that I really like, and that is Paula Hawkins. Paula Hawkins wrote The Girl on the Train and Into the Water, which both of these I read this year. I really enjoyed Into the Water a lot more than I enjoyed The Girl on the Train, which is definitely an unpopular opinion, but I really liked the true crime element of Into the Water. The Girl on the Train is more of a domestic thriller, so that's why I preferred Into the Water. Even though I didn't enjoy Girl on the Train as much, I still think Paula Hawkins is a really good thriller author. I think she has a very good way with words and way with capturing the feelings of the stories and her characters and making her books readable and making you really think about them. I also think she's really good at weaving intricacies within her story and not revealing too much before you need to know it, so that you are kept guessing throughout the whole thing. And I just have really enjoyed her so far as an author. The 8th question is newest fictional crush. For this, Josh from The Hating Game. So The Hating Game is basically an enemies to lovers office romance following Josh and Lucy, who are both assistants to the co-CEOs of their company. They have a history of hating one another, playing games against each other, until they realize that maybe all this animosity really just means that they are very much attracted to one another, and they end up falling in love. And this is just such a great book. I absolutely loved this so much. One of my favorites of the year so far for sure. But Josh is definitely one of my favorite aspects of this book. His character is just so great. He is so sweet and kind and caring, but he also really challenges Lucy, and I love the banter between the characters. He's just so smart and witty and quick on the uptake, and I think he has a lot of great things to say, and I just really enjoyed him and honestly have a crush on him, so The next question is newest favorite character. For this, my answer is Jude from The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I really liked Jude as a character. She is our main character of this story. This story takes place in a fae world where there are fairies, but our main character Jude is human. It's a long story, but she ends up being raised in fairy and has always been a bit of an outcast because of her humanity. All she really wants is to become a fairy and to fit in, so throughout this story she is trying to do her best to gain the respect of her peers, really convince others that fairy is her home and that she belongs there. And honestly, she's just a really great badass character. She is so smart and tactical, and in the end she comes up with this amazing plan and it creates this amazing twist at the end of the story, and I really am so excited to keep following her story and to learn more about her, and I just think she is really great and I would love to be friends with her. Question 10, books that made you cry. There is a lot, so buckle your seatbelt. First, as I mentioned, The Mighty Heart of Sunny St. James by Ashley Herring Blake. Second, One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. The Last True Poets of the Sea by Julia Drake. In Order to Live by Yeonmi Park. Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. Because of Winn-Dixie by Kate D. Camillo. Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. A Good Neighborhood by Therese Ann Fowler. Be Not Far From Me by Mindy McGinnis. Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins. Spinning by Tilly Walden. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. You, J.K. Rowling, by the way. Anyway, as you can see, I cry at books a lot. Yeah. Question number 11 is a book that made you happy. For this one, I'm going to go with a pretty recent read, and that is This Is What It Feels Like by Rebecca Barrow. This is just a really heartwarming and fun story. It follows our three main characters, follows Dia, who is a Black teenage mother, Jules, who is a Black out and proud lesbian who gets into an interracial relationship throughout this story, and Hannah, who is a recovering alcoholic. The three of them used to make music in a band together back in the day, but everything kind of fell apart. But then 2 years later, there is this awesome competition where they can win some money and a chance to open for one of their favorite bands, and so they decide to come back together and make music together again and learn how to be friends again. And honestly, this is just a very heartwarming story. As I said, I really enjoyed it. It really made me happy, and it is one that I would definitely recommend. Question number 12 is favorite book to movie adaptation that you have seen so far this year. I believe I have only seen one, but this would be my favorite anyway, even if I had seen more, and that is Emma by Jane Austen. If you didn't know, this book follows our main character, Emma Woodhouse, who loves to play matchmaker for her friends, but has never had romance herself, and she gets into a lot of shenanigans when she takes a new girl under her wing and tries to match her up with one of her high society friends, but everything works out in the end and Emma actually finds a love for herself. Honestly, I love this book so much. I loved this movie adaptation. I thought it was really well done, honestly. I really enjoyed it. I loved the costumes. I loved how funny it was. It was just great. I really enjoyed it. The next question is, what is the most beautiful book you have bought so far this year? For that, I have to go with The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. Just look at this. It's so beautiful. I love the colors, the spine. It's so gorgeous. I love it so much. So this follows two twin sisters who were inseparable as children, but when they grow up, they choose to live in two different worlds. One sister actually decides to pass as white, and even her husband doesn't know the truth about her racial heritage. And the other sister actually lives in the town that they grew up in with her daughter. And I think this story is just following their two very different lives until eventually both of their respective daughters end up meeting, and I believe their lives intertwine again. This just sounds like a really beautiful story. It will actually be our Page Turner book club pick for July, which will be here on my channel. I am very excited to get to this book, and I would encourage that you pick it up and read with us as well. There's definitely a question in here that I skipped, like best review you've written so far or something. But the last question I'm going to answer is, what books must you read by the end of the year? There's a lot. I have already read 90 books so far this year, and we're only halfway through, so I have quite a lot of slots to fill. For sure, I've told a bunch of people that I'm going to read the Selection series, so definitely need to get that done. I also want to read all of the Throne of Glass books this year. I also want to finish the Folk of the Air trilogy by Holly Black, and yeah, I don't know really what else I'm going to read, but those are like big priorities. So yeah, this was the mid-year book freakout tag, I don't know which one it's called. Anyway, I really hope you enjoyed. I am so happy that you hung out with me for a little bit today. Really appreciated you being here. All relevant links will be in the description down below, including anyone I mentioned and all the books I mentioned. That sounds like a lot of work. Maybe I won't do that. Anyway, thank you again for being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. I'm over talking.